Hey folks, how you all doing? So today I'm going to be ranking the 5 studio albums by British rock band The Police. This is one of the most difficult rankings I've ever had to do. Before I did the rankings, and listened to the albums again, I wrote down how I thought the albums would go in my rankings. Not one of them ended up in the place I thought they would. My number one album is pretty much number one or two regardless, but the others have all ended in different place. I mean, the album I thought was going to be number one actually ended up at number five, which is really, really weird, but it just shows you the strength of their albums and, you know, how you listen to them on a different day, how they sound different, but there's not much in the rankings at all. There's really very little to separate these albums, in my opinion. Anyway, let's get on with it. At number 5 on my list, I have their third studio album, Zenata Mondata. This was released in 1980. It's a nonsensical word. It's a made-up word, the title. Doesn't mean anything, but it sounds really good, doesn't it? Zenata Mondata. Plenty of elements of jazz, funk, new wave, pop, and ska/reggae on this album still. The album shows the musical progression that these guys have made from their debut album to this one, and it's a huge increase in the way they write songs and the way they perform them, their mindset and what's going on lyrically and musically. The album just sounds slightly too rushed for me when I listen to it at times, and especially in the car the other day when I had the CD on. It sounded like there was something missing in these songs. Not much, but there was just a little. There's something not quite there with these songs. And then when I read about them, you realise the album was written and recorded over a 4-week period while the band were on their 1979 UK tour. So that makes a lot of sense. They're slightly underdeveloped songs. But that said, it's still a bloody good album. And this one ranks at 8.5 out of 10 for me. Now, that's incredible. For the weakest album in an artist's discography to come in at 8.5, which means I do love this album. Yeah, you just can't knock it. Brilliant. As I said, it would have ranked number one if I had not listened to them again and just got up and just from remembering what the albums were like, that would have been number one. At number 4 on my list, I have Randa de Blanc. It's their second album, was released in 1979. The title itself translates from Froggy to English as white reggae, and that's pretty much what it is. It's white reggae. Just to question the title track, Randa de Blanc. Is it just me, or does that sound remarkably similar to Synchronicity 2 from the Synchronicity album? Just go back and listen to it, guys, and just have a bit of a listen. There's a remarkable similarity in the music, in my opinion. Not the same, but very similar. This is a really, really good album. As I said, I love the 5th album, so I love this one as well. And it's pretty incredible. The 2 hits off this album, Message in a Bottle and Walking on the Moon, in my opinion, are actually the 2 weakest songs on this album. So, you know, that just about says it all about the quality of songmanship that these guys, the Police, were doing at the time. This one comes in at 8.7 out of 10 for me. Number 3 on my list, I have the band's 5th and final studio album, Synchronicity. This was released in 1983. Now, the meaning of synchronicity, I looked it up just to see what it was, and it says the simultaneous occurrence of events which appear related but have no discernible connection. And that's perfect title for the album. Is so apt, simply because you listen to this album and they sound like a collection of songs. They're not related in sound, style or theme. Therefore, they are a series of events which appear unrelated or appear related, but have no discernible connection. And that's exactly what this album is. Perfect title. Brilliant. Gotta say, I love just about every song on this album, including The Wacky Mother, which I know a lot of people dislike. I think it's brilliant. It breaks up the album, much like Let's say we'll go to the Beatles, for example. Maxwell's Silver Hammer breaks up the vibe and sound on Abbey Road, and that does the same with this one. It's just that wacky, kooky little song that sort of doesn't fit anywhere, but just breaks up what's happening on the album. The album does contain my favourite Police song of all time, In Every Breath You Take, which is an absolute masterpiece. That song being my top 10, top 15 songs of all time, not just this album or the Police. Absolutely brilliant, absolute masterpiece of a song. Album is absolutely brilliant, can't knock it. Comes in at 9.2 out of 10 for me. At number 2 on my list, we're getting closer now. Police fans will know what the top 2 albums are, and you'll know from this one what number 1 is going to be. So, number 2 is Ghost in the Machine, their 4th album. This was released in 1981. This album is a complete change in sound from their first 3. There are elements of reggae and ska in all 3 of theirs, and light pop and jazz fusion, especially on the 3rd album. This one is more rock orientated. It's deeper, it's darker, it's more congested, for want of a better word. Deep and dark. It's complex. Musically, lyrically, this is probably the most complex album Sting has ever recorded. As a solo artist and part of the Police, it's the most mature album I think he's ever done in a lot of ways. It's probably aimed at the US market and the advent of MTV, for example, with the videos as well. It's a whole different ball game to the rest of the albums. I thought this one was going to come in at number 4 or number 5 in my original list, but when I played this in the car the other day on CD, I listened to it 3 times. I just couldn't get enough of this album, but there was no way it was going to beat my number 1 album. This one comes in at a brilliant 9.5 out of 10. That only leaves one Police album, and we have their debut, Outlanders Do More, from 1978. Ranks at number 1 for me. The title translates to Outlaws of Love. It's a concept album of sorts, because every song on here has a theme of love, or thereof love variations. Unrequited love, lost love, even Love with a Blow-Up Doll. And that's another one of those kooky songs, Sally / Be My Girl, or Be My Girl Sally. It's just one of those kooky offbeat songs that, like Maxwell's Silver Hammer, it just breaks up the album, and I love it. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I laugh at it every time I hear the spoken part about the blow-up doll. I think it's just absolutely incredible. Love the punk urgency of this album. The first 2 tracks, Next to You and So Lonely, are up there with some of the best punk songs of all time. Even though they're not specifically punk as in punk, they've got that punk urgency, and they're just absolutely brilliant. This album is one of the greatest debut albums of all time, in my opinion. I think Rolling Stone actually ranked this at number 32 or 34, something like that, in their list of all-time greatest debut albums. If this is that low on the list, I would like to know what the hell is above it, because to have 30 plus better debut albums than this, that says something, and I should probably get them in my music collection, because this is just absolutely brilliant. It remains my favourite Police album to this day. Don't have no qualms about even considering it at number 1. It's probably my favourite album involving Sting through his whole career as well. This album comes in at 9.8 out of 10. So there you go, folks. That's my look at the 5 albums by the Police. As I said, they could have gone in almost any order on any given day. That's the strength of this band. Like Dire Straits, just absolute quality material, and depending what mood you're in, depends how they're going to come out in the ranking order. There's no right or wrong with the Police. You know, some artists like Bob Dylan, there is a right or wrong. Well, not a right or wrong, but most people deviate and gravitate towards certain albums. With the Police, I don't think there is. Every album could be a number 1 album, a number 5 album, and justified in every one of them positions without a shadow of a doubt. Anyway, guys, let Let me know what you think of this police ranking in the comments below. Leave your rankings in there as well. If you like what I do, guys, give me the thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button just down there. And thanks for watching. Stay safe. Take care. All for now. Catch you around, folks. And bye.